Hey, everybody, it's Linda G and Sterling,
Good morning, everybody.
your
Happy,
favorite time of the week. We have your questions. Shall we begin?
and I was just gonna say, happy belated holidays to everybody, and we've got New
Yes.
Year coming up, so still in the holiday season, so happy holidays.
Maybe next Sunday we could do a little bit of, if you get after guides, you might not get it, but any news for 2021.
Actually, I did work on that yesterday and this morning, so
Cool.
actually, I do have information on that. Yeah.
Oh, let's do that next week.
I think it's in this show, I think.
Oh, this show?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Cool. According to Daniel and Linda, so.
All right,
yeah.
Cool. I like that. I've got to sit down and work on it. Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, I am recording.
Take two.
Take two. Okay, from the other side, what does Wayne Dyer have in messages for us?
And so I spoke with him yesterday because I always kind of ask, who wants to come forward, and I try to leave it open. And Dr. Wayne Dyer came through yesterday morning, and really nice guy. But one of the things he wanted to talk about was healing modality. And so right now, a lot of people from 2020 going into 2021 going through different types of healing, whether it's emotional healing, healing from family, healing from just a lot of, maybe bad things that occurred to him this year. He was talking about people tapping into the healing modality that we all have that comes through our guides and angels. So asking for that, working with them, being thankful to our guides and angels, but kind of tapping into that, whether it's emotional healing or even physical healing. That was one of the big things he wanted to get across. And one of the last things he said to me was something about he liked my appearance. He said, we look alike. Because he was bald too and everything. So he said, I like your looks. So we're both look the same.
Although he's probably in a younger body now, right?
Well, when I saw him yesterday, he still, looked principally the way he did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, 45 and his cronies do anything on January 6th or January 20th to upset the transition of power.
Well, they're certainly going to try to make a ruckus like they always do across social media. And I feel them even trying to put something again, believe it or not, before the Supreme Court, but it's not going to go anywhere. So it's just another failed try. Yeah.
Several people were given a pardon by 45. Was 45 directed to pardon some of these individuals?
Yes. Because I think you've heard the term singing like a jailbird. It appears that kind of our friends overseas had asked that these individuals get pardons so that they weren't, let's say, susceptible to making a deal with the federal government and then spilling all the beans, everything they knew. Okay. So they felt like by getting a pardon, then they wouldn't be put in a place where they had to talk a lot.
Right. And that Eric, whatever his name is, Eric, that had to do with those murderers, those black something.
Blackwater, we're talking about.
Yeah, there was military that talked about him on YouTube and said, we hate it when they were there because they caused such chaos and we had to clean it up. So
true. Yeah.
So that was probably Eric talking to Trump saying, do this. Anyway.
By the way, I think among many groups, many groups were talking in his ear, more 45's ear.
Right. Is there any truth to the theory that ES&S voting machines were flipping votes for McConnell and Graham? If so, will it become a public knowledge?
Yeah, that was the company Electronic Software and Systems or something, ES&S. Yes, as a matter of fact, there's actually a flaw that the FBI knows about that has to do with what I'll call back office. It's more than back office accounting. It's the way that the votes are audited and where they're stored in a database. And so there's a flaw there. And so the FBI is aware of it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Why was an extremely large chunk of recently passed stimulus bill given to foreign countries? For example, Israel was allotted over $5 million.
That is I'll call it a tag-along effect. So as bills go through Congress, they kind of pile on a few things that go through with the bill. So it wasn't a direct relationship, but it feels like it was an indebtedness. And by the way, it seems like it was much more than 5 million, maybe overall 500 million or something. But anyway, that was just a tag along, so it didn't directly relate to the stimulus. So, yeah.
Right. This is part of the
Foreign, foreign
that
support.
our country will be closed down Monday night if he doesn't sign this.
Right.
It's part of keeping America going, and this is the money we normally give. Okay, Michigan's Governor Whitmer is being impeached by the GOP legislator. Will they be successful?
No, it's another bunch of what I'll call buffoonery going on.
Right.
I think what they're trying to do is say to her that she somehow compromised the rights of Michigan voters or Michigan citizens, and no.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Who is behind the Nashville Christmas Day bombing?
That's a good one. You'd have to be under a rock to, it's all over the news. But I'll tell you what I still get when it first happened, I get there's an offshore connection to this. It's a mercenary connection. There's money that exchanged hands, and it's meant to scare us, and it's meant to somehow affect infrastructure. So I think this is something that's going to go on. We're actually going to see some of this play out into 2021 in terms of some other bombings, I'm sorry to say. But it's a little bit of attack on infrastructure. It's well planned, and there's money exchange hands, and it's offshore connection.
Okay.
So, whoever was put up to this somehow got benefited, or the family benefited.
Okay, because I think they're the body parts that they're finding now.
There are, yeah, and I think the individual that's involved was certainly not the mastermind, but certainly his family benefited financially, and there's an offshore organization involved here.
Okay.
Mercenary, yeah.
Kim Jong-un's public wife has been missing for almost a year. Where is she? That's the first I've heard of that.
Definitely keeping her in seclusion because for some reason there is something going on, obviously, with Kim Jong-un, whether he's dead now or what this is, but they feel like she's a risk to the rest of it's a power struggle. So
Okay.
they're somehow trying to keep her under wraps because of a power struggle going on. So
Okay, that makes total sense.
yeah.
Well, 45 pardon Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think we may see that even in the coming week. That's coming up because there's our friends overseas, let's call it Russia. They want a lot of that squelched because they don't want to be singing like a jailbird. So, if they don't get a pardon, then the federal government will reach out and say, hey, look, we'll give you a pardon effectively if you sing like a jailbird. And they don't want that to happen.
Okay. There is a new TV show coming on the Sci-Fi Channel. This looks interesting. The lead character is an alien cop who can change into a human. Is this show part of the plan to get the public ready for the aliens? I'd love to know the name of the show. I'm gonna look this up and see if I can find it so I can watch it.
Yeah, the simple answer to that is it's part of a long-term ongoing plan, just to kind of expose people to the concepts, that kind of a thing.
Right.
So what I'm being told, I wouldn't take the nature of the show completely verbatim, that it's a cop but aliens can shapeshift. We already know that.
Yeah.
Look at Bigfoot, it's a great example. So anyway, yes, in overall, it's a way to kind of expose more people to concept of aliens.
Will Rand Paul be found to have taken money from Russia?
Yes, and earlier this week somebody asked something like that, and I saw that there were about 40 different GOP congressmen that they're going to come out with a list, like a laundry list of all, and I got the number 40. So yes, for Rand, and yes for another 39 additional GOP. There'll be a laundry list. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Before we are born, we all sign a contract for what we are to experience or learn in this lifetime here on Earth. Once we are born, can that contract be changed by spirit or the person?
So the fundamentals of the contract won't be changed, but what can change is the scale. So I'll give you an example. Let's say part of your contract is to come down in here and help a lot of let's say socially challenged families, and you end up doing it for a community center that's got 20 families. You might want to go much bigger and help like families statewide or nationwide. So you might change the scale, but you wouldn't necessarily change the fact you came down here to help families. Does that make sense?
Right.
You change the
But
scale, but
right. But you always have free will, even in human form, correct?
you do, and that's why I think, that's where kind of some of that buffer zone comes in with, I call it scale is the best way to put it, whether you go big or go small in terms of what you're going to affect, what you're going to do, you have a range of scale. Yeah.
Right. Will chemotherapy ever be replaced with a less lethal solution for treating cancer?
Yes. It reminds me, this goes way back, but there was a movie way back when I was a kid called Fantastic Voyage. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Yeah, I used to watch
Where they were like in a micro submarine going through the body.
it at the
So,
drive-in.
and so my guys are talking about the fact that there will be micro robotic technology in the next 5 to 10 years. They'll start to experiment with it. They can target certain areas of the body. So there will be, it won't be little people, but it'll be micro robotics next 5 to 10 years. But it does remind me of Fantastic Voyage.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I love that movie. How about you?
Yeah, so we're showing our age, I guess. I think that
Yeah.
was
Well, it was on TV for many years after that.
okay. I just remember seeing in the theater when I was a kid.
Yeah, I went to the drive-in with my parents. Will big churches like Joel Osteen's church ever be taxed?
Yes, and what's going to happen now with Biden is there's going to be a brand new tax plan rolled out here over the next 4 years that will include things like taxing nonprofits based on scale. So if you're a nonprofit that takes in $1,000 a year, you may not have tax. If you're a nonprofit that takes in, $100 million a year, you're going to get taxed. So it's going to go based on scale, but they are going to start to tax nonprofits. And they're going to categorize them. They will. So it looks to me like that question was about the Joel Osteen Church. I think that will fall into one of the categories they'll tax.
Okay. Is it possible to levitate or move objects with one's vibration or mind?
So levitation, let's say if it's human levitation, really not that practical or possible. However, we already know, in fact, they're showing me that just like Reiki energy can emit from the hands, you could emit different types of energy or magnetic field to be able to move objects. But here again, it depends on the person and the kind of object. You're not going to move a car, but you might be able to move change on a table, right? So,
although some mothers have lifted a car.
well, no, that's true. But then
Right.
using your physical force as opposed to magnetic force or something else.
Right.
So I think that's the complete answer to that question. Yeah.
Okay. Will a vaccine be approved for children by the time school starts next year in 2021, August of 2021?
Yes, 100%. I still see 4 solid manufacturers that create the vaccine that goes out to everybody, and there will be versions of it for children prior to August, absolutely. And those versions we're gonna see the versions of the vaccines morph a bit as they adapt to the virus, which keeps morphing anyway. So yeah.
Right. Will we almost have it like a flu shot? It changes every once in a while and you have to upgrade?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It'll evolve. Absolutely.
I think you said that before.
Right.
Does an affinity or an aversion for certain things, places, or eras donate a past life connection?
100%. Two good examples of that. If the first time you walk into, let's say Prague in Europe, and then you get body chills and you recognize everything, probably denotes to a past life where you're probably in Europe. Likewise, I find, and this is a practical kind of a reference, if you talk to certain people that have an unreasonable fear of water, like no reason why, they may have drowned in a prior life or may have a very bad experience. So you do, yeah. It does sometimes point back to prior life. Absolutely, yeah.
And some people who are hypnotized will see those things. Sometimes they hypnotize you to help you get over a phobia.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, how many GOP senators do you see leaving next year?
I think we just alluded to this because it came up this week, but at least to begin with, like half a dozen, like 6, and more like 12.
Awesome.
12
Awesome.
once the whole year is done. There's like an initial 6, they're telling me, half a dozen, and then like a dozen by the end of the year. Yeah.
Can you ask your guys, is any of this due to even investigations, like something's coming up that people are saying, I'm getting out of here?
Oh, it's completely due to investigations that are going to be. They're already ready to go. So
Okay,
it's like once January 20th passes and things are in the free and clear, then this will all open up. Yeah.
awesome.
You
What country will lead in green technology?
know. So for the next year to 2 years, it'll absolutely be China, mostly because of solar and battery technology. But the U.S. under the Biden administration, there'll be new green programs, and so we'll see. Actually, almost within the next 4 years, we'll see the U.S. start to take a leadership role back again.
Good.
So it'll be China for a while, and then it'll be back to the U.S.
Okay. Will there ever be a national voter registration that will stop voter suppression in certain states?
Um, out into a second Biden term, which is, so it's like 4 to 8 years kind of a thing, there will be a kind of a nationwide system. However, they're telling me they're gonna run parallel systems, what I call analog, which are paper ballots, and then digital, which are voting machines. So it'll be more unified as we get more than 4 years out, but they're gonna run parallel systems as an audit trail. So you have electronic, but then the paper, just like we saw in this election. Yeah.
Will stem cells for tooth regrowth be available to the general public soon? And will dental insurance ever be moved to health insurance?
The latter question first here is that dental insurance will be moved to major health insurance within 4 years. Absolutely. And then I think the first one was stem cell therapy
Yeah,
being used.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Are they doing that? Are they already doing that?
Their science is on the verge of some breakthroughs in that area. Yeah. And so you'll see within 5 years, within 5 to 10 years here, it'll be more commonplace. You'll see stem cell therapy being used to grow. It feels like they're telling me certain parts of dental, maybe not complete teeth, but some parts of gums or something, and then it'll go into teeth. Yeah.
Okay. That'd be cool. You just go in for an injection and your new tooth grows. There are 2 new strains of COVID in the UK and South Africa. Will they be worse and will they respond to the vaccine?
So they're worse in terms of the fact that they're more contagious, and that's okay. But the vaccines being developed will also constantly morph to meet that challenge. So the vaccines we have now, there'll be 4 by the time we're all said and done, are built on a technology platform that can be modified.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be more contagious, but the vaccines will meet that challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, just on the news, they were saying that the vaccine, even though it's more contagious, seems to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
And by
murder
the way,
fate?
I was just gonna say really quickly, sorry, is that my guys were saying that there'll be probably another 4 or 5 mutations before we even get out to the end of summer. So the virus will continue to evolve, but we'll meet that challenge. Yeah.
Okay. Is murder fate or free will?
It's primarily part of a life path, and it may sound kind of unusual to people, but when you think about murder sometimes in terms of if a family member has another family member that's murdered and then they start a whole victims rights organization that affects a lot of people, that's absolutely part of a life path.
Okay.
So there is some free will, but a lot of murder, whether it's the individual being murdered or the family affected, is all part of a larger life path.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. And my guys have always said it's sort of both. You
Yeah.
have the free will not to murder the person. You were advised to, that you two had made the agreement that you would die at this person's hands because of something that happened in the life before. But
Right.
if you take the free will and decide not to go there, then it's a plus for you.
Yeah.
Will at least some of 45's pardons be overturned? Good question.
The answer is yes. There's a few of them because you're gonna see a very large number of pardons overall before he leaves office.
Okay.
But there are going to be a handful of them overturned. But more importantly, I also see Congress passing new legislation that then couples like congressional approval or legal review into the presidential pardon process before it takes place. So
Yes,
right now it's carte blanche, and so
exactly.
it won't be carte blanche.
Because they didn't expect someone like him.
Right, right. And so remember, I think wasn't it last week or the week before we were talking to George Washington, Thomas Jefferson?
Yes,
And they were saying they never meant the presidential pardon to be a like get out of jail free card or
right.
some crazy way to excuse everything. So
Well, do you
yeah.
think that they will reinstate into the military General Flynn, like everybody's saying, and then they can get him for what he did and under military?
I'm not sure I see that.
Okay,
I somehow a lot of that's going
they're
to be
talking about it. Yeah.
yeah, it seems like it's going to be water under the bridge to me. Like they're going to keep looking forward as opposed to a lot of backward, but they
Well, there's
will.
no,
Yeah.
I've heard clearly that basically they can't, because of the way the law's written, it's in the Constitution. They can't really reverse them, but they can sure do some plays because Trump will try to pardon himself. That's not going to work.
No, and that we could very well see that next week. 45 trying to pardon himself, along with some other family members.
Right.
So
But then but it'll even go to the Supreme Court and they'll say,
will.
no, can do. Oh, interesting. Do spirits celebrate holidays in the afterlife?
Not the same way we do, but they do celebrate, interesting enough, as people rise in certain energetic levels on the other side. So as you do the work you're supposed to do on the other side and you rise through levels, they celebrate people graduating through levels, but they don't celebrate holidays like Halloween or Thanksgiving or
Right.
I guess,
Right.
but they celebrate people increasing in energetic level as they meet their purpose. They
Right.
celebrate.
Yeah, because sometimes when a birthday passes, like of my deceased parents,
Mhm.
I kind of say happy birthday. But one day when I did that, I heard someone say to me, I don't know if it was a parent, our real birthday is the day we died.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the day of freedom, of coming out of the body.
Right,
Anyway,
right.
do you have to speak out loud for your guys to hear you?
No, you don't. But I always encourage people when you first start, kind of tweaking up the skill and the telephone to the other side and all that. I think it's helpful for, let's say, new beginners to say it out loud because
Right.
it energetically puts a little more force behind it and you kind of get into it. It's almost like it's a good vehicle when you're first revamping up the gift. Once you get tuned up and you got the telephone connected, not necessary.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Will the government bail out failing Teamsters Central States pension plan?
Mhm.
Teamsters Central States pension plan.
Yes, that will. It feels like it's a few years down the road for that to come to pass, but it will avoid anything that comes up like in 2025. So I
Okay.
think it's a major event. Maybe that's when they're supposed to run out of money or something. But they'll reinstate. They'll support the fund.
Okay.
Government will.
Does heaven exist?
You know the answer to this one. So absolutely, absolutely. And it's an entirely different energetic level.
Right.
Anybody that's ever had an NDE, and lots of people walking around the planet had near-death experiences and crossed over, including my wife, as a matter of fact. Heaven is a place. It's another energetic level, and it's a kind of another dimension. It runs parallel in some respects to our dimension here on Earth, and that's how we can kind of tap in and talk with people. But yeah, it's real.
Right. And I've been to the other side in body, though. I didn't die. I was 8 years old when I went on to the other side and visited Jesus of Nazareth, who I didn't even know who he was, but I knew he had something important to say. But that vibrational energy is all encompassing and beautiful.
Yeah, I
It's
encourage
so
a lot.
hard to explain.
Yeah, and I encourage a lot of people that are watching now, if they haven't ever looked at any good near-death experience videos or some on YouTube, and
Yes.
you get hold of them, there's some great stories, and you'll see the parallel in a lot of the stories, and it's quite amazing.
And there's different levels. And not
Mhm.
even the bad people are necessarily thrown into a fire pit. You have to do life review, and you have to feel everything you ever did to somebody else. You can't go
That's
over
true.
there and be the same gossipy, your thoughts are wide open. So
They
that's
are.
hard for people to do that don't practice that, because a lot of people are always thinking something ugly. You'll
They
get
are.
out of that when you're over there.
By the way, I'll make a recommendation. Another movie, Defending Your Life, with Albert Brooks and Meryl
Oh, I
Streep.
just watched that the other day again.
And
That was
so
great.
there's a really good life review scene in that movie. I think everybody will get a good laugh out of it. But yeah,
That was
I
great.
recommend
That
the
was
movie.
a funny movie. Any big news stories for 2021?
I do. And so this is a little bit of a forecast for 2021 as kind of what's coming up. I do see broad new tax laws in the government. We alluded to some of this on this call here, the show, but broad new tax laws. We're talking about 2021 forecast now, right?
Right.
Yeah. They're going to affect, so they're actually going to help things like education and teachers, for example. There's going to be more benefits going there, more unemployment, and helping people that came out of 2020 disasters, restaurant industry, that kind of a thing. I do see that. I do see new legislation on gun control, but having to do with biotech. So biotech meaning you need fingerprint technology to be able to use the weapon if it's yours. That's going to be coming in. I do see there's more COVID. I think we were talking about more COVID-19 developments for children and things in that nature. There are more earthquakes, some earthquakes coming up in 2021. And I do see one for California in June coming up. So everybody kind of, get prepared to some extent.
Northern or southern?
It feels like it's central. So it feels like it's the center part of California kind of goes through a fault shift, and that affects both northern and southern. Yeah. Overall, it's going to be a much better year for everybody. It's going to be much better. So.
Right. But do you see Biden cutting all those tax breaks for the wealthy, and
Yeah, that'll all be part of the new tax code, this new
that'll
tax
help pay for these new things?
and the nonprofit, taxing that we saw there, new nonprofit tax and all that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know what? My guy just telling me there's two other things here kind of impressive. That gives me a smile. I do feel the discovery of a new planet in the solar system. So you're going to see that in the news. And I also do see they're talking about a food development here, a new replacement to sugar. So like it's almost a sweetener for food, but it helps with diabetics and people trying to lose weight. So almost like a new development around
There
sugar.
are some sugar substitute, but this one might be better then.
Yeah, this appears to be a new natural discovery. So it's not synthetic, but it's like a natural discovery, but helps diabetics, and people trying to lose weight. Yeah.
Cool. Now, what about bread? Are they going to have a substitute for bread?
No, as I say, you're out of luck, girlfriend.
I know. So, do you see anything coming up next week? Like, is the government going to get shut down?
Yeah, I do see that there's a whole lot more negotiation going around the stimulus bill. My guys always said it was going to get through before the end of the year. This is crazy free will going on right now, right? A lot of fighting going on. So a lot of continuation of discussion in Congress on the stimulus bill. And I think there's a lot of planning going on for 45 in terms of what I'll call an escape plan. So he's looking at, foreign, still looks like Saudi Arabia connection here to me, where you try to make something happen in terms of escape.
Because he's not doing any work. He's just using taxpayers' money to be on the golf course. And
he is, and he's not even trying to hide that.
And so where's the motivation to say he was a president or to hire him again? He's doing nothing. He's letting the house burn down. That's what he wanted.
Yeah. The sad part is a lot of the people in the nation that still defend him. It's that's sad too, right?
Right. Well, this one person wrote on Twitter that they were planning on going to the march for Trump January 6th, but their unemployment check stopped.
Yeah,
so they
crazy.
can't go.
Crazy. Well, I certainly wish the best to everybody. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any information that your guides want to share?
They do. This came up this week, and as a lot of times it goes full circle almost with Dr. Wayne Dyer in the beginning. But the subject that came up to me was learn how to forgive yourself and forgive others. So there's a lot of people walking around the planet that are carrying a burden from either childhood or earlier in life.
Right.
They haven't really completely forgiven themselves. And the nature of why we're here, it's a school. You learn the lesson, then you move on, but you move
Right.
on while you're still here on earth. So learn how to forgive yourself and those around you, others. And then that's the beginning of what I call a healing process. So that starts the healing process. And that kind of goes full circle with Dr. Wayne Dyer around healing modalities and how you kind of need to tap into that with your guides and angels. So it's all about
my ability to connect happened more so when I forgave my father.
Absolutely, because it could be a big stumbling block.
But
Yeah.
even the other day, I heard these words, and I think it's something in the Bible, but they say the law of God, the main law of God is mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Always show mercy, even
Right.
though you want to hate that person, because this is just the playing field, like you said. The
Yeah.
real energy and the life over on the other side is fabulous. There's a lot of depressed people walking around now, my friend.
There are. And what Karen Carpenter brought that up last week about depression and making sure you talk to it and say it out loud and share with people because people
But
will
this
help.
too shall pass, everybody.
Absolutely.
Hey, he lost. Didn't we say he was going to lose? And let me tell you, Sterling was the one that said he was going to win. I didn't have a YouTube show then, but I probably would have argued.
And by the way, to be clear, he was going to win the last time, not this time.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I met you, because I read your wife and she said, my husband said he's going to win. And I was so upset. I'm like, what? What's he saying now? Oh, he says he's going to lose. Oh, thank God.
Yeah. And remember, it was a year and a half or 2 years ago, when we first started seeing who was going to win the next race. I kept seeing the taller, gray-haired man from the back.
Gray-haired man,
and
older.
the woman vice president with the dark hair. Remember,
right.
Go back in videos a year and a half ago.
And we saw the gray hair, and we saw he was lean, and he was older though.
Yeah,
he was his back and him walking down the halls.
And remember, I did see in that video, you'll see in those older shows, I saw $1 billion connection. Look at some sort of $1 billion connection, which I think now we know is Mike Bloomberg behind the scenes paying for
yeah,
things. Yeah,
Bloomberg helped. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, wonderful! Thank you, Sterling.
All right, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Always wonderful seeing you. Okay, you guys.
Everybody.
Next Sunday. Have a safe, happy